the dark, I plant my dreams. Permaculture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Creating the world like it's meant to be. Permaculture, P-I-M-P, I'm the king. Wrapped it up in everything. Bring a change, making it last. Join the permaculture.
Oh, yeah. Welcome to episode 287 of the Permaculture Pimpcast, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. The only pimpcast on planet Earth where we discuss permaculture, preparedness, practical living, and sometimes prostitutes. But it's going to be on a happier note tonight because I got my son back and we're going to be doing the program again together, although remotely. This episode, as always, brought to you by Hickory Ridge Soap from TwoOldCrowsHomestead.com.
Turn that simp into a pimp.
You're slipping, son. Bam.
What do you mean?
Yeah, your
How am I
timing's
slipping?
off. Your timing's
There's
off.
a delay.
Yeah, ain't that much delay. Yeah. Hey, check it out. If you want to tip a pimp, check out the Living Soil Foundation. That's something we started in Western North Carolina. Now that the weather's got a little bit warmer, we're back in the saddle again, and we're getting things done. Met with the owners of the property. What was it? I think it was on Sunday. Yeah, noon on Sunday. Sorry, y'all. Every day feels like Monday. Anyway, this one particular project we're working on, met with the owners, and boy, they really stepped up and put up a really good design. So we're going to work with a bunch of local people to get all the stuff we need. All the money you guys have donated, I'm going to show you the incredible good things the good Lord can do when, when we don't rely on man to get this stuff done. So can't thank you guys enough. But if you want to donate over there, you can check us out on Give, Send, Go, and we're going to be kicking. So here we are. I want to thank everybody coming in right now in the chat. I want to give a hat tip, as always, to Renewed Homestead, and they're going to be doing some pretty awesome stuff coming up in the near future regarding butchery, sheep butchery. That's one you don't see a lot, y'all. So we're going to work out, they're going to work out the details. When I get them all squared away, I'm going to team up with Ben and Denise, and we're going to show probably 10 students what they can do to get themselves off and running in butchery. And remember, the process I teach you works no matter the animal. Am I lying, son?
No, in fact, the same process I just used, last week? In processing a friend's pigs, and it's the same friend that made this shirt for me. If you guys can see, it says "Goats Suck." He watched that. He was inspired by that one YouTube video I did a while back, saying that goats or sheep, they're better than goats. That's the most controversial video I have ever done. More people were mad at me about that than anything else.
Man, but, that's how it works, man. I mean, these people are pretty doggone emotional about goats. I mean, they're a management nightmare to me when I can have sheep that taste light year. I've never eaten. Let me take that back. The only time I've ever had goat that tasted halfway decent was in the Middle East. I mean, you kind of got to know what you're doing over there. But outside of Kuwait City, man, I've never had a goat I've eaten it. I don't even know how many times. And I have never had any kind of goat that I ever cared to ever eat again.
I like goat, and I don't even think the effort is worth it. I'd much rather raise sheep than goats, and I like goat, but sheep by far tastes better than goat.
Well, folks, you probably noticed we got some new intro music out there. For those of you, I'll play it again a little bit later on. We commissioned some work, got some real deal artists to get it done. We got a new intro and a new outro. So many people were complaining. They're like, I mean, not that made a difference at all, because it was the message I was trying to convey, especially at the end of the program. I'll never back down, because I'm a warrior. Or bow down because I'm a warrior. It was the message I was after, but also at the same time, I know folks were a little bit repulsed by rap music, and given the culture of today, look, man, I get it. So we commissioned some stuff that had more like an 80s funk, and I'll play it back a little bit for the ones that are getting in late, right now. And let me know what you think about it. I mean, do I need to go back to the drawing board, or, is it whack? I kind of like it. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect.
I do too, man. It's not offensive. It has a good message, and it's kind of funny if you know the words. I mean, if you can tell what the words are. Well, anyway, son, here you are back in the saddle again, man. How's everything out in Texas? Let's do the farm update.
Everything's good out here. Helped a friend get his tractor unstuck from this heavy Texas clay earlier today. And then also did my first flip on the chicken tractor on steroids this morning too. I got that film, so that video should be coming out here soon.
Are you doing it
But
on the
yeah,
urban level or at the farm?
so I'm doing it over at the house, like at the actual in the backyard of the house, which doesn't stand out too much because my back door neighbor has a bunch of chickens that are just running wild, and then my neighbor a couple of houses down, my wife Emily just figured out that there's 2 pigs in the backyard over there. So yeah, I fit right in this Texas community.
Well,
But I'm using the standard chicken tractor on steroids. I'm not doing the urban chicken tractor on steroids. I'll have like a full 4 piles and everything like that.
so it's not static. I mean, this thing's moving.
No, it's static. It's static. But instead of doing the 2 piles, it has the 4 piles in like a full size run.
Oh, okay. I got it. Yeah, man. I mean, it can absolutely work, y'all. So definitely go over there, check, tell everybody where they can find you, son.
The permaculture consultant is where you can find me on
Yes.
YouTube and Instagram and all that.
Well, folks, look, we're going to be like pigs on roller skates for a little while here, just trying to get the timing down. There might be something of a delay, so if we step on one another, you'll know the reasons why. Well, I'll kick it off on this end as far as the farm update, folks. I can't remember the last time we had a full day of sun. Even when you think it's blue out there, they're still up there doing their thing. But it was good enough, folks. I mean, I was literally outside all day today working with no shirt on. I mean, quite literally. I mean, with no shirt on. And folks, the more I examine the work of Dr. Jack Cruz, the more I'm realizing, man, this guy's really got it together. Of course, I'll take issue on certain things, but honestly, and then turning my phone absolutely in airplane mode and keeping it as far away from myself as possible. And I feel so much better for doing that. Sleep has been better. Just getting as much sunlight as I possibly can. Like I said, with my shirt off pretty much all day long. Worked outside and basically told the world to take a hike. I mean, that was one of the big things I did today. Also, I wanted to get down and do some pruning, but I was out there putting more extract in the high tunnel, so that took up a lot of my time. Another big thing I'm doing, folks, and I don't know if I don't know, maybe I'll do this on Patreon. I don't know if I'll do it on YouTube. I'm not sure. But when it comes to the indoor lighting, you see me with these birth control glasses on right now, these blue blockers. And you're folks, what I'm learning is mind boggling. Okay. Your body absorbs the light around you. A lot of folks don't know that. This is one of the things I've learned from Dr. Cruz. And of course, obviously, you want to protect your eyes if you're anywhere in a blue environment. Well, I got studio lights in here, so I got to do that. I got the Pimpcast sign right here behind me that my daughter-in-law gave me for my birthday. And, these things are going to put off things that your body, it's not going to be wonderful for you. So one of the ways to mitigate that is every light I've gotten, they're coming in the mail right now, but I'm retrofitting part of the house to put full spectrum lights everywhere. Because if your body is going to absorb that light, you want it to be full spectrum, not just blue, which is what everything is around me right now. So I'm working on a retrofit right now, and I'm getting dimmers on every single room in this house where, you can, with certain lights, you can lower it and then mimic the time of day. So when it's in the evening, like it's turning into right now, I can dim these things down, and then your body's not absorbing blue light at a time. Think about it. You're going to get mostly blue light when the sun is at high noon. So what I'm trying to do, if I have to do any computer work, which I have to do pretty much every day, or any kind of business, I try to do it around the center of the day when I have to look at a computer screen or something like that, where I'd be getting blue light anyway. So I'm trying to retrofit my life, y'all, and I'm letting you know exactly how all that's going.
But on that note, Dad, like just thinking about it, like the time that I'm on the computer the most is in the evening, which isn't correct, obviously, but it's when it's in the evening, because during the day and like high noon and stuff like that, I'm trying to get stuff outside done, especially on these shorter days and stuff like that. It's just difficult for for you to get that done.
Okay, there's no way I can't put that on the screen, Bill. You knocked it out of the park with this one. PIMP stands for
Profusely.
punching incompetent Marxies profusely. Yeah. You know what? That's a slogan. Okay, man. I'm sure there's a bunch of, if anybody has another acronym, oh yeah, 2 Old Crows homesteads in the house, homesteading twins. I saw them earlier. Renewed homestead. Man, we got a lot of folks in here, and hit that thumbs up. Let them know to start suppressing us immediately, because of course they always do, and there's a lot of that going on. But yeah, son, if you can possibly, I know it's kind of hard to do as a farmer, but if you can possibly structure whatever computer work you have to do around the middle of the day, it's at the time of day when your eyes are likely going to be seeing a lot of blue light anyway. If not, then you want to make absolutely sure you get some of these blue light blockers. They do make a difference, man. Your mom and I are noticing it big time in our sleep.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to get a pair of those then. Because usually I do like all of my, whether it be computer editing or responding to emails, I usually do all that in the evening, when all the outside work is done.
Yeah, and the problem with that is the same problem I had, is that it becomes more difficult to turn your brain off to go to sleep. Or even if you do go to sleep, your brain is still working on that blue light pattern. These lights are convenient in so many different ways, but honestly, they're deleterious to our health in a massive way. And I'm making these adjustments, y'all, and I'm going to constantly tell you what I'm finding out and how it's helping. So if you're going to do any kind of computer work, that's why we started the show a half hour earlier. We were doing it at 7. We started at a half hour earlier just to give my body time to kind of decompress from this. And also, if you are working in a blue light environment, if you can offset it with red, that's a good way to counteract it. So I'm learning more and more and more on this stuff every single day. So I'll tell you another thing I'm working on too, folks, and this is going to be paradigm changing if I get it all worked out. Look, water. Okay. That's a big one. That's a really, really big one. And the stuff, obviously, if you're drinking stuff out of your taps, you might want to rethink it. And even a filter, I'm finding out a way to make light water. I mean, I'm not going to be able to make deuterium depleted water. I just don't have the capabilities of doing that, but I'm finding out all these incredible hacks, folks. They are out there, and simple things you can do that can structure your water in a way. Man, I'm about to conduct experiments with crystals. I've been, looking at a lot of different things, and sorry that I haven't had a whole lot of videos as of late, folks. I mean, that's just how busy we've been. Still helping folks dig out from this hurricane. It still looks, the needle has not moved one bit since the whole time this thing has happened. So, yeah, folks, we got a lot of hats. We got a lot of things going on right now. So, son, what's going on your end?
Well, speaking real quick about the water restructuring, I remember when I was at Earthship Academy, there was a lady there who was in charge of maintaining all of the greenhouses on the rentals and stuff. She'd make sure everything was growing and all that. But she was talking about restructuring water then and having like this spigot attachment that you could screw into your sink or whatever, and it would mimic the water like tumbling over rocks and stuff like
vortex. That. It creates a vortex. Yeah,
to kind of restructure the water, and how she was having better results with her gardening and all that type of stuff just by doing that. I never tested it or checked it out or anything like that, and she also had some other crazy theories that were legitimately just crazy. So it was kind of hard to take stock in everything she was saying, but it's popping back up.
Well, I'll tell you what, there are people that are doing experiments. Man, there was somebody that told me just recently how they did a side-by-side experiment, and I'm going to do it with microgreens. I'm going to use structured water on one set and then regular water on the other. And we're going to just see how this works out, because I'm really, really, really interested. I mean, there's so many different, everybody thinks water is just water, but that's not the case at all. I mean, I ordered some deuterium depleted water, like the most expensive water you can get on this planet, just to see where my target ought to be. And I mean, this stuff is like down to 5%, which is nearly impossible. I mean, and you'll find out that in places where you get a lot of sun, the deuterium levels in your water is really high. And the inverse is true the higher you go up, let's say in colder climates where there's low deuterium water, which is actually a good thing, and there's limited sun. So it's incredible how the good Lord set all this up. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if a lot of these professional athletes, that's one of the things that Dr. Cruz does, is that because they can afford it. I mean, we're talking like for a case of 12, we're talking almost $300 for this stuff, man. So who can afford that? So and that's for wealthy people. But if I can find a way to structure water and make it work and then have the experience, and yes, like Carol says, that water has memory. Yeah, Dr. Emoto proved that. If you stand over water, folks, this is why you should pray over everything. This is why my prayer life is on another level right now. When I'm working out, I'm praying the entire time. I'm thanking the good Lord. I'm asking him to bless all of you out there. I'm asking him to bless my son, my grandbaby, everybody I can think of. And I'm asking them to bless the soil, because Dr. Emoto proved, and folks, this is really something you ought to take to the bank. I should have led with this. If you check out the work of Dr. Emoto in Japan, he proved that water does have memory. And of course, mainstream science wants to poo-poo this. Now, he did an experiment where he wrote hate, and he put it on a bottle of water, let's say like this, okay? And then he put love on another bottle of water, froze that water, and then looked at it under a microscope. Any time there was any intention given to that water that was in the spirit of love or, good mood, or whatever the case may be, the structures of those water crystals were absolutely gorgeous. Anything that was dissonant or hateful, it was like ill-formed. It was just awful. So think about it. How much water are we made of? So this made me rethink how I think about things, because if I'm not careful based on the way I was raised, I can go to the negative really, really quick unless I get a handle on it. This is why I stay in prayer probably until noon every day, still trying to retrain my mind to think these things. So if you're thinking these things and your intention are these things, every time I drink any of the water, because of Dr. Emoto, I pray over it. I ask the good Lord to bless it. And, these things, you can believe what you want, but we now have empirical evidence that your intentions absolutely work when it comes to things like that. Sorry, son, I didn't mean to hijack your end of things, but what's going on there?
You're good. Yeah. Just like I was saying before, I was helping a friend get a tractor unstuck, did the chicken tractor on steroids, kind of trying to get everything planned out for that nomadic, that 5-day sustain me event with the Barbara O'Neill and all that type of stuff. Just trying to get everything planned out for that, and then get everything planned out for Midwest preparedness, doing that one as well. Apparently I speak right before Joel Salatin, so I'll have to make sure I don't go over time on that for sure. Now that he's part of a cabinet now, something like that.
No, it's not really a cabinet position, but it's an
Close
advisory
enough.
position. Well, it's
Close
an advisory.
enough.
Well, if he moves the needle one bit, I would be happy and shocked.
Yeah.
But give him my regards.
Yeah. I'll tell him you said hi and everything like that. But yeah, just today, lately, it's just been a lot of planning, like trying to get everything in order. And then I have a consultation up at the end of February up in the communist section of the United States, like New York and Pennsylvania. So trying to get that planned out. And yeah, it's just seems like I'm doing less and less farming and homesteading and more like planning and figuring out teaching, speaking events and stuff like that. So
yeah, your mom and I we're feeling like we're in the same place right now, and we're trying to find that balance, because honestly, I'm having to restructure my life to get the best out of myself, and I'm going to have to be a little bit selfish, and I suggest everybody else out there kind of do it too. Another thing, I'm realizing my relationship to coffee, man, I love coffee, man. I love it a little bit too much. I'm realizing that I'm going to have to give it up. I don't know if anybody else out there feels it, but man, as I've gotten older, I don't know if it's some of the regimen I'm doing. I don't know what it is, but now when I drink coffee, man, I'm going into near panic attacks. So, and it's not just because your mom made it, son. It's, folks, when I say she makes strong coffee, man, it is some people drink that for the first time. They're like, whoa, man, what did y'all do to this coffee?
Yeah, it'll make you sweat.
Yeah, but it's not just that. I'm going to have to wean myself off of it. And I'm realizing, I think part of it may have to do with part of the things I'm doing. But then I found out today through another podcast that there are people that just genetically don't do well with coffee. And I'm thinking I might be one of those people. So that's going to have to be the latest thing I give up, or not just coffee, but caffeine in general.
I know with me, when it comes to coffee, like if I take a like coffee and then versus any other alternative, like caffeine alternative, coffee always makes me like slightly jittery and then always makes me sweat too. I don't know what it is about coffee specifically.
Yeah, you probably ought not to be messing with it. Same. I mean, you are my son. So if I'm having a problem with this, but it's gotten so much worse. I mean, for years, I never even drank coffee in my life. First time I ever tried it, I was in Kuwait. And they gave us, I had espresso. And I was like, man, if this is what coffee tastes like, I don't want nothing to do with it. And then I thought my heart was going to pop out of my chest. But, you know, I'm just honestly not built for it. So I'm going to have to, yeah. And the effects of it, apparently, with people that have genetic deficiencies in it, it can last up to 10 hours. So that's not something I'm wanting to deal with. So, you know what? That's going to have to be one of the latest things I purge. And boy, I am not looking forward to that, because I do love coffee, but apparently it doesn't love me. Well, I got a sinking chair. Hang on.
Yeah, you are sinking. You're getting lower and lower.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what's going on. Your mom got me this defective chair, and this thing ain't working right. Well, hey, y'all, we got some new music. I'll play it again for the people that just showed up. I'll just kind of give you a piece of it. And tell me if you think it's whack.
In the dark, I play my dreams. Purple culture flows like sweet streams. I'm the daddy with the know-how seed. Great in the world like it's meant to be. Come on, don't you be I-O-P. I'm the king. That's the love in every
All right, so that's the new jam, y'all. If it's whack, let me know in the chat, and I'll go back to the coffee. You know, back to the coffee. I saw Jennifer's comment. No coffee, no, definitely. Your mom had always said no coffee after 2:00 or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, I'll go back to the drawing board if you think this song's whack. But yeah. So commissioned a few songs, and we got a different one on the outro. So jam it and slam it. Somebody's saying whack. Oh, Judy says it's whack.
Yeah. Hater.
Yeah.
You know that music is the shiznit too. You're over there just hating on the music.
Yeah, Judy, come on now, get with it, man. That's got like an earth. There you go. Linda just took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to say I had an earth, wind, and fire feel, and sounds like Kool and the Gang. Okay, that's what I was shooting for.
Yeah.
Because people are saying I can't stand the rap, so I'm like, okay, nobody is offended by 80s funk or Earth, Wind, and Fire from the 70s or anything like that. So if I can commission something that's along that line, or maybe the Gap Band or something, you know. Anyway, looks like generally we got some positive vibes there. So I got another one on the way out, and it has more like a Wilson Pickett thing. So Judy, you might like that one. It's got more.
Judy said, I thought whack was good. My bad.
It's okay, Judy. It's okay, Judy. I thought whack was bad. Somebody says, I like it. Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Gap Band. Yeah, that's exactly what I was shooting for. Something that's upbeat. And every other farm podcast, you know, there's a bunch of, I was wanting to do Earth, Wind, and Fire on banjos. But you're going to have copyright issues, so couldn't do that. I mean, I'm dead serious. I wanted to do Let's Groove with banjos, but yeah, who knew that you can't do that sort of thing, especially if you're going live. All right, so hey, y'all, want to remind you, Wave Watch, if you want one of those watches that plugs the solfeggio tones into you, Billy 100 will get you $150. They might even have that deal still running right now, so go get yourself a Wave Watch if you should desire one. March 18th through the 22nd, William's even going to be here for it, along with my grandbaby, my daughter-in-law. Darren and his son are going to be coming out. That from Hacks from the Homesteader. That's going to be the Shalom Temple 5-day immersion event. Barbara O'Neill herself is going to be there, and she's going to be, you know, obviously dropping manhole covers on the mainstream paradigm of what health is supposed to be. Jax, of course, is going to be there. Formidable in her own way. Jonathan Otto is going to be there. The Australian guy that's one of my people here seems to think sounds like he's Irish, but I guarantee you he's Australian. I'm going to be there doing some classes and along with Mike the Fit Farmer. So that's going to be March 18th through the 22nd. And I believe they now have, if you go over there now, you don't have to do all 5 days. You can, in fact, do day passes. So they got those for sale over there at the website. So we'll have that link down below. May 2nd through the 4th, mountainreadiness.com. Folks, if you ever wondered what it was like to hang out with a bunch of Green Berets, Navy SEALs, Marine Force Recon, Army Sappers, Rangers, you name it, we're all going to be there. And it's not like a guys only thing. Folks, I'm telling you, this is the best festival you don't know about. And if you go there, you're going to see things on the docket that are not at your typical Homestead Festival. I'm talking like tracking courses and I mean like some really, really cool stuff. I mean, meat processing, you name it. I still can't even believe they have a kind of roster that they have put together over there. So T, who runs it, man, how he puts all these people together, I do not know. Pat Miletich, former world champion, UFC, and trainer. He's going to be there also. I'm not sure if he's going to show you how to strangle somebody, but he's definitely going to be there. I know because he's staying at my house. So I'm looking forward to that and hanging out with Pat. So that's going to be May 2nd through the 4th. And Redemption Shield, y'all. Remember, I'm G'd up from the feet up. You know why? Because I'm grounded at all times, or at least try to be. And by the way, that's another little hack I got going, is I got these little grounding straps for my shoes to where I can stay grounded even when I got my boots on without poking holes in the bottom and putting rivets in there. So Redemption Shield will get you 10%. I'm sorry. Perma will get you 10% off at Redemption Shield. All right. So let me jump into the good news, and it might actually be good news for a change. I didn't get this over to William in time, so we'll just kind of catch him flat-footed here. And by the way, folks, if you just got in here, hit that thumbs up. So Kristi Noem directs Coast Guard to reinstate service members discharged over the COVID vaccine refusals. All right, I'm calling that one good news. And check this out, y'all. They're not only bringing them back, but they're bringing them back with back pay.
Oh.
Yeah, but you know what's kind of a screw job for some of these guys is not only did they lose all the pay there, they lost rank. So let's say you were a buck sergeant and you got kicked out because you wouldn't take that jab. Okay, well, 4 years later, man, you could have very well been, a staff sergeant or maybe even a sergeant first class with any kind of luck. I mean, it might have, I don't know how they go about doing this, but man, at least they're doing something to try to set these folks up because I know a lot of people that were really screwed up by this and really got messed up. I mean, officers and enlisted alike. So I think the
proper restitution for something like that is like set them up so they can just retire. Like if you screw up somebody's career and screw up the trajectory of their like career path and stuff like
That's a good idea.
Like we have how many billions for foreign countries and stuff like that. Just make it so where these people can go ahead and retire and pursue something that they actually want to pursue.
I think that would probably be the better remedy. But I would also say, in addition to that, how about all these January 6 people that were pardoned? I mean, their lives were totally demolished, man. And it was over lies. These people didn't even do anything. They were locked up, imprisoned. You talk about needing some restitution. I mean, and absolutely abused in the prison system. I mean, if they're going to pay some restitution, man, I'd love to see it happen to those folks.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, so the second one here, singer Avery. I don't even know who that is, but warns, you know who Avery is, son?
Nope.
Apparently it's some singer. Yeah, but anyway, she warns against using Ozempic, and it gave her a debilitating disease. Now, folks, here before too long, I'm going to have Dr. Brian Artis on the show. Boy, you talk about hard guy to track down. I've referred to him a number of times. He's going to be on the show, and he basically broke folks. Now, I hope you're sitting down. If you're listening to, if you're taking any of this stuff, it's basically made out of Gila monster venom. That's exactly what suppresses your appetite. And that's why these people have such negative effects from what's going on. And people are taking this stuff in record numbers. And they're getting all kinds of screwed up. And Dr. Artis, hopefully when he's on, I'm going to ask him about some of that. But I'm calling that good news. I'm not saying, look, I don't wish any ill on anybody, but the reason why I'm saying that's good news is that a lot of the effects of these drugs, and that's one of them, has been hidden forever and a day. And now people are starting to wake up. So hopefully folks can find decent methods to wean themselves off of these things. So if you're taking that stuff, folks, trust me, there's a better way.
Yeah, and there's a ton of like actors and singers and like even podcast hosts that are all of a sudden dropping weight, and a lot of them aren't admitting that they're taking that Ozempic. But I have a feeling that there's going to be a like an outbreak of Ozempic casualties. Not saying they're going to die or anything like that, but just sickness that comes from this Ozempic. Like surely venom isn't a positive thing to take after what we've seen with the whole 4-year disaster that we all just made it through. But.
Well, exactly. I mean, that's what Brian Artist was the one that broke all this stuff. And so I just feel so honored to be able to get him on this show. That's probably, man, I think it's going to be next month. I got to look at the calendar, but anyway, I got him lined up. And in fact, he's kind of the inspiration for this next article, son, where could nicotine be the secret to immunity and longevity? Okay. So folks, this is going to blow your mind. And this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to get Dr. Artist to talk about it while he's on this show. And he was the one that figured out that for all you folks with long COVID, if you can take those nicotine patches and like take the 20, like we have down in our room, 21 milligram patches and cut them into 3 milligrams, basically, you know, break it down to where they're 3 milligram patches and you put them on, all of a sudden people that were dealing with serious debilitating things are all of a sudden making 180. In fact, I told my chiropractor, and he started doing it. So wow. Yeah, I told him about it. And people are realizing good night because COVID attacked all the nicotine receptors in your body. So that's why this is what makes Fauci and his ilk even worse, is that they knew right off that smokers would not get COVID because it was an engineered thing. Okay. Anyway, that's why they were saying, if you're going to quit smoking, now's a good time to do it. Well, they knew that nicotine blocked. That's why people that smoked didn't get COVID. You notice that? People that dipped didn't get COVID. And certainly not to the extent that other people had it. I mean, I'm not saying they didn't, but I mean, they were highly unlikely to get it because nicotine covered all those receptors. Well, here's what you don't know is that you've been trained your whole life to think that nicotine is a bad thing. What if I told you that tons of nicotine, first, tobacco is number one. The number two is, and to get it out of tobacco, you got to do some things to it. And number two is like eggplant, your tomatoes, you know, all these things are absolutely broccoli. Yeah. And guess what, folks? Nicotine is not addictive. Think I'm crazy? Do the research on it. Harvard proved it a long, long time ago. And that's what this article goes on to say, is that nicotine is not at all addictive. That's why I make my own stuff and I use organic tobacco to make it. And, I mean, it's probably not a good thing to smoke it, but you can make teas and everything else out of this stuff. So,
man, you're on your own on that one.
You don't need a lot of it. But anyway, I mean, it's in these tobacco products, it's not the nicotine that's addictive. That's why when they called all these people up there to Congress and they said, no, nicotine is not, no, it's not addictive. It's the parazines that they put in the nicotine that make it addictive. Go watch that movie. Russell Crowe was in it. Also, doggone it, I can't think of his name. Al Pacino. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about the tobacco industry. It was the pyrazines that they put in there that made this stuff addictive. Tobacco in and of itself is not addictive. So, folks, I mean, like I said, I'll have somebody says we throw 7 milligram rugby patch whenever we go into large gatherings. Yeah, that's a smart thing. It's a real smart thing because honestly, these patches are a pretty good way of getting the nicotine you need, especially when the things they're spraying out there attack those sites. And this is exactly why people like Fauci ought to be tried and fried and laid to the side, in my view.
Speaking of nicotine, if you are used to like dipping or anything like that, my buddy the one that I helped process those pigs, he showed me this new product called Knick Knack, and it's like this dissolvable lozenge. It comes in like 3 milligram or 6 milligram, and it's just like he said, it was the cleanest source of nicotine he could find other than the patch. But it's what is it? It's just nicotine salt, and then it has like essential oils as well. And that's it. You just like put it in your lip if you're used to having like a dip in or something like that. Then you can put this lozenge in your lip, and it's like a similar feeling, and it just slowly dissolves, and it tastes like just the essential oil that it's flavored with. And it has like all these different types of flavors and stuff like that. But that's an alternative as well.
But if you want to do some real man stuff, go out there like I do. Go buy the whole leaves, and then I got to bake them. I mean, it's a process, man. You got to bake them. And, I've stained the crap out of my teeth trying to figure this stuff out till I finally got it worked out. Everybody probably, when they meet me, they probably think I'm some crackhead or I was a meth addict or something, because the bottom side of my mouth, I mean, I didn't know the process. So I'm up here trying to figure this thing out. And to get the nicotine out of it, you have got to, I mean, look, y'all, I mean, I make my own. Here's a can right here. Okay. But it's not addictive. I mean, it's not addictive at all. So, I mean, I basically make my own. I got to bake them. I got to go through this little process. I got it down to a science now, but got to get to the dentist at some point and get my teeth cleaned, because they're probably thinking, dude, what is up with this dude? Well, folks, that's the problem when you start experimenting on yourself, unless anybody else out there wants to volunteer for it. But I'm telling you,
if you want to do the real man stuff, Dad, you got to make a strong batch of that tea.
Nah. I ain't gonna be making it. You can go about it.
That makes my mouth water.
You can do it that way. You can absolutely do it that way. And that's the way Dr. Artist does it, I believe, and Jonathan Otto. You can go about it that way. But I'm like, well, dude, man, it's a lot easier if I just make my own. It's non-addictive. I can go for hours and stuff and not even mess with it and not feel the urge to. But if you're out there messing with Copenhagen Skull or anything else, it's like when you see a guy like there was a guy new at the Earthship build, rolled his own cigarettes. I'm like, why does that tobacco not smell like a regular cigarette? In fact, it almost smelled pleasant. And
or American Spirits, those smell different. In fact, somebody mentioned it in the comments, but American Spirits smell light years different than like those Marlboros and stuff like that.
Yeah, because they put and thanks, Denise. It's called The Insider. Had Russell Crowe. If you want to find out how they made it addictive, because it wasn't in and of itself, it is the parasines they put in there. So, all right, y'all. Man, I probably went a little bit too long on that segment. But anyway, we're going to go to my man, Eric Sider, and we come back. We're going to get into the main topic.
Hey, Eric Sider here with your Pimpcast tip of the day. Today's tip, trees and their energy transactions. Trees play a pivotal role in our ecosystems, affecting climate, water flow, and overall environmental health. They influence how wind behaves, shelter life, and enrich soil. Trees consist of 3 biomass zones: the crown and trunk, the detritus zone beneath, and the roots. Each of these zones contributes to vital energy exchanges, creating a cycle where fallen leaves decompose and nourish the tree once again. Wind profoundly impacts trees, which adapt by becoming more aerodynamic. They lean away from it, and their roots spread wider for stability. Their trunks grow thicker to withstand tension, a visible sign seen in tree rings. Moreover, trees alter wind patterns, with about 60% of wind being lifted over their canopies, improving air quality and reducing debris. Temperature regulation is another critical service provided by trees. Evaporation cools the air during the day, while condensation at night warms it. This phenomenon can influence design choices in landscaping. Strategically placed trees around structures can enhance comfort by moderating temperatures. Trees are also crucial for maintaining a healthy atmosphere. They contribute to precipitation cycles and are essential for hydrating our environment. Healthy landscapes ideally should have roughly 70% forest cover, which sustains moisture and supports broader ecosystems. Rain, while nourishing, can also erode soil. However, trees mitigate this through their expansive crowns that diffuse heavy rains, allowing soil to retain nutrients and reducing runoff. This relationship enables trees to absorb nutrient-rich water, which then supports healthier ecosystems. Trees are a critical component to the planet. They create streams, facilitate water retention, and contribute to the continuous flow of our rivers. Their absence would lead to arid landscapes. By understanding their profound impact, we can better appreciate the necessity of preserving and planting trees in our environments. You can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Eric Sider. And if you're in need of permaculture t-shirts or remote permaculture consultation and design, head over to ericsider.com. And if you're in the Sacramento area, check out my permaculture community group, permaculturefairoaks.org.
Bam! That's my dog right there. Man, I don't know what I could add to that. Son, is there anything you would like to add to what Eric said there?
I'd recommend getting, I mean, that just hammers home the point, like getting a permaculture design manual, because what he just mentioned is like the tip of the iceberg of one of the chapters of like trees. That's actually the name of the chapter is trees and their energy transactions. Is it a chapter or just a section? I can't remember, but it's, yeah, like that's just the tip of the iceberg of that chapter. That I highly recommend everybody get that permaculture design manual book, even if you're not necessarily a farmer or a homesteader or anything like that, because that the design science it can apply to any sort of business that you may have, or just how you run your household or anything like that. It's a solid design science. Permaculture, a lot of people make the mistake in thinking that only applies to agriculture, but it stands for permanent culture, not just permanent agriculture.
Yeah, it can be all of the above. And there's that book, The Secret Life of Trees. I mean, first of all, what trees are doing should be an impossibility. It really is. I mean, folks, he's just touching the tip of the iceberg. So, I encourage everybody out there, if you're able, it's going to make you so much better as a homesteader, as a farmer, wherever you find yourself in this continuum. If you can somehow get yourself a permaculture design certificate, it will only improve. What you got there, son?
I got a question asking, what's my shirt? It says "Goats suck."
Yeah, I'm
for
with
all the
that.
people who are hating.
Yep. Speaking of shirts, I got one of Eric's on. So one of the shirts I bought from, and yeah, I got another one I can't wait to wear. I'm waiting to wear it in one of the videos, but we'll get around to that. All right, y'all. So check this out. No matter where you find yourself in this continuum, we want to give you 10 tips today. I'm going to provide 5, and William's going to provide 5. And, he came up with 5. I came up with 5 because we got still, like I said, in the past, before Trump got in, I would have said we had record numbers getting into this space. But I will bet $1 to donuts that we got record numbers getting out of this space. But the ones that remain,
Yep.
I mean, I'm telling you, folks, it is mind-boggling to me how many people are willing to go right back into the matrix. This is where you find out where the serious people are in terms of farming, because I'm telling you, record numbers are going right back into the matrix. I don't even get it. It happens every single time. I predicted it. I told you it would happen, and it happened right on cue. So for those of you that are in here and seriously in for the long haul, because I got news for you. I'm not saying I'm Nostradamus or anything like it, but I will say that if you think you're out of the woods, believe you're kidding yourself. And so for those of you that are sticking around for the long haul, well, we got 10 tips for success in 2025. And it's cool that you're getting it from 2 different perspectives here. Before we get into that, remember EMP Shield, $50 off with promo code PERMA. Look, if things jump off, when things jump off, it's just pick your poison. I don't think we're out of the woods, and I don't even think we're close. But when they jump off, y'all, you want to make sure that you can get back to the house. So they got them for the vehicles. Also, your number one threat is lightning. Okay? It may not even be an EMP. But if lightning hits your house and Kentucky Fries anything downstream, they're going to cover you for 25 G's at EMP Shield. So that's what I'm talking about. All right, so I'm going to kick it off. And remember, promo code PERMA will get you $50 off. All right, so right off the bat, number 1, son, I'll do one and then you do one. You want to do it that way?
Yeah, that works.
All right, so I'm going to say number 1, get your health in order. This is exactly what, folks, the stuff they're dropping from the sky, everything I'm telling you about the lights, you can see the way they've weaved this cord, okay? The idea is they do not want you alive, especially the baby boomers out there. That was part, if you check out people like Dr. David Martin and a number of others out there, the whole idea is you are the carbon they want to reduce. I'm dead serious. So make yourself hard to kill by getting yourself in the best condition you possibly can. I can't even tell you how many tips I've offered on here, things that I'm putting together, things that I'm working on myself. I'm never going to tell you anything I'm not doing myself, and that's exactly what I'm working on. So I'm going to say tip number 1, turn the Wi-Fi off at night. Turn that thing off if you're in a place where you can avoid it. Sleep grounded if you possibly can. Turn your stupid phone off at night. Get up, see that sunrise because it sets your circadian clock. I had no idea the importance of that sort of thing. You know, when the lights go off, okay, turn the lights down low, maybe use candles, something like that. Just some tips. Get yourself kind of take the stairs. I mean, we've talked about a lot of that last week, so I won't belabor it. But honestly, number 1, get your health in order, son.
Yeah. Start small. Like I do consultations. My channel's name is the Permaculture Consultant and everything. And I've seen a bunch of different properties, and I see a lot of different failing points and stuff. So people start too big when it comes to their garden. Like a lot of people have a half-acre size garden, but you only need like a small fraction of that to actually feed yourself the way you need to. So whatever size garden you want to do, just do yourself a favor. If you've never done it before, cut that size garden in half. Same thing with your animal flocks and stuff. Like they'll want to get cows. Instead of just getting 2 feeder steers to see if they even like it, they'll buy a full-blown herd of cows, and then they realize like, oh, I don't have enough pasture. Or there's a lot of this stuff that I don't understand, and I wish I would have practiced on too. Same thing with like sheep or like any other kind of livestock. Chickens are one of those ones where it's less detrimental because you can just easily go and process a few chickens. Cows, it's not the same way. But also, like when it comes to the chickens, let's say you're thinking like, oh, okay, I'm going to get in the egg business. I'm going to go buy feed to feed my chickens, and I'm going to do it that way, and then I'm going to sell the eggs. Well, you're going to spend a fortune on feed, and you're going to realize like, oh, I'm actually breaking even on selling these eggs. So let me slow down, start small, figure out exactly what I'm doing, try some different closed loop systems, and see if I can produce eggs that way. So step number 1 for me is just start small.
All right. Diversify your income streams, folks. I can't even tell you the importance of something like that, especially, I mean, look in light of, okay, Trump just signed, is basically allocating somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 billion with a T. Yeah, I was just on the phone with Dr. Will Spencer today, and he was talking about some things, y'all, that isn't being talked about in the mainstream. He knows a lot on the inside, but anyway, diversify your income streams. So there's a whole lot of white collar jobs out there. Some of them might even be MDs out there. Think about it. With all the new stuff that they have coming out in the cyber world, I don't even know what to call it, in the with the AI assistants and stuff like that thing that the Chinese just came up with the other day. I mean, all of that is going to eliminate enormous amount of white collar jobs. So somebody thinks, oh, you can't be replaced. Well, they said that, and then they shipped their jobs off to China in the past. Now the white collar people are going to start taking it in the keister. I'm dead serious. So diversify your income streams. And what might that look like? Okay, here on this farm, we have a number of businesses, and each business in and of itself can maintain the entire farm. So let's say you have 5 income streams. Well, keep your cost of living low enough to where you can live on just one of those streams. So it's just like a permaculture system where there's not just one point of failure. So let's say 4, fall apart. Well, you still got that one. And I mean, it would have to be one serious calamity to make all 4 of them, for that to happen. And if 5 of them go apart, well, you're in a bind. But yeah, diversify your income streams. Find other ways. I mean, ask yourself, okay, can a robot or a computer, can I be phased out of this job? And if you're working behind a desk somewhere, folks, I hate to tell you this, but it's looking like you might be. So be thinking about a plan B, C, D, all the way down to Z if you can.
Absolutely. My next one is get a second opinion on your farm, whether, and I don't mean just get like go out and get a consultation. Yeah, that's great, but you don't have to go that route. You can just get some old school farmer to come check out your place and see if it makes sense. Like have them look over your layout. Does your layout make sense? Also have somebody look over your workflow, because as time progresses and as you take care of your farm, you're going to slowly start adding different components to your workflow. So something that originally took 30 minutes to accomplish every day now takes an hour and a half every single day, because you've slowly added like small little components to your workflow. So do like have somebody audit your farm or your homestead and see if there's things that can be made more efficient or eliminated, or you're just not doing it the best way possible.
Oh, had myself muted there. Okay, invest in water security. Folks, I will tell you this, okay? I live in a place where water comes quite easily. So it makes you lazy in terms of water security. It really, really does. So think about this. When that engineered hurricane came through here and all of a sudden all the power was out, well, if you didn't have 240 volts, you weren't getting water out of your well. You got a lot of these hillbillies up here that are, gravity feeding it. I mean, it could be an artesian well. It could be in a number of different ways. But by and large, people get it from the tap or they get it from Uncle Sam. Well, you might want to think about drilling a well as a plan B and, finding a pretty clever way of powering that thing. So be thinking about that, because we were down for a solid week where I am. And then when it came back up, it still wasn't secure. So think about these different ways in which you can take. I mean, do you have any holding tanks? Can you dig a pond? Is that something you can do? And then if you got the pond, okay, what do I do about purifying that if I got to drink this stuff? So be thinking about those different ways in which you can have that water security.
Yeah. Call problem animals, meaning like CULL, call problem animals. So let's say like some sort of disaster happens and stuff, or even if not, like problem animals just make your job 10 times harder. If you have one chicken that constantly gets out, that you constantly have to go back and chase back in, that's extra time dedicated to a task that should only take a short period of time. If you have a sheep that keeps jumping the fence, or a sheep that keeps bullying the other sheep and getting other sheep hurt, those are reasons to call right there. If you have poor genetics in your flock, that's a reason to call. Too many people are scared to call their livestock because they're thinking, oh, I'm lowering the numbers, but you're benefiting the overall herd. Like it's an overall gain, even though you're down one member of the flock or the herd or anything like that. So don't be afraid to call your animals.
I actually had that one kind of on my list where I wrote regenerative ag strategies. Folks, homesteaders can be the best thing in the world, but by and large, they're usually the worst. And I mean that. And look, in so many cases, man, you got too many animals. I kid you not. It is February, and we're still feeding grass that was stockpiled. I don't know of anybody else around here that's doing that. I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm saying if you can't feed grass almost all year long, then you might have too many animals. So I'm going to suggest to you that you go out there, look into the work of people like Jim Garrish. That's where I learned that from. Check out people like Greg Judy, obviously Joel Salatin. There's a whole host. I mean, Cody Holmes, there's a number of people out there that are doing this sort of thing where each pass of your animals, you need to keep them moving. Each pass, your pasture should improve with every single pass. If it's not happening, then you're not doing it right. So, I mean, let's say you go out there, you started off in this field and there's a bunch of goldenrod. Well, in a couple of years, it shouldn't be there, maybe even in a year. So, and then you could use sheep, something that will eat that stuff, and be thankful for it. So when you get those strategies out there, that's something that a lot of homesteaders don't know or don't want to know, and you're just going to have to put foot to butt. So you don't want to be feeding hay all year, or you're not making any money at all.
Yeah. The last one I have is make sure everybody in your family is on board with homesteading or permaculture. You and I have witnessed a bunch of permaculture divorces because not everybody was on board with it. Like when Emily married me, she knew what she was getting into. Like she knew it was permaculture and homesteading and stuff like that. So if this is like if you're already married and you're just now finding out about permaculture or homesteading, then just make sure everybody is on board before making that transition. I've done a few consultations where one person was like all hands on deck when it comes to homesteading and farming, but the other spouse wasn't. And it wasn't like the other spouse that wasn't down. It wasn't like they were just keeping to their own. They constantly had some sort of negative comment to make, and it wears on like the energy part. I don't know how to explain it other than that, but it's just constantly wearing on you when you have somebody making negative comments or like passive aggressive comments or something like that, or just flat out not helping, and vice versa. If somebody's not down to do this, it's going to be very annoying to them to constantly have to help somebody who is wanting to do this. So just make sure everybody's on board, everybody understands what they're going to get into before you actually make that leap, that transition.
Well, son, to that point, let me just kind of piggyback on that. I mean, you and I are both aware of at least a couple of situations where the spouse was proactively working to sabotage the person who was doing it.
Yep.
I mean, like straight up, I mean, there's some wicked people out there, man. Wasn't on board, didn't want to move out to the country, really dug the city, and she was doing things to go out of her way to probably kill this dude. So,
oh, well, yeah, we know that for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
There wasn't no probably about it.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, was so hating the lifestyle that much where you bring these people in kicking and scratching, and she was out there quite literally trying to sabotage the entire operation and did a pretty good job of it, to be honest with you. So
hey, Dad, we got a comment from Andy Pearson. He says, "Good evening from beautiful Tonganoxie."
I'll be dang.
Yeah, I went to high school there. That's wild.
Wow, small world for sure. All right,
Yep.
my last one here is leverage tech. Okay, so one of the big annoyances, it doesn't have to be, but this is where automatic chicken door can make all the difference in the world. Okay, let's say you're working a tough job, you're sweating all day. Last thing you want to do, it's one thing to get up in the morning and feed the chickens on the way out to work and give them the water they need or whatever. But then when you get back, okay, let's say you get home at, let's say 6 o'clock. By the time you get home, you get in, you take a shower, you cool off a little bit. And the last thing you want to do is go all the way back out there and go get sweaty all over again to go put the chickens up. And that's where some tech really helps, like an automatic chicken door, things like that. So if that's what's keeping you from doing it, there are some technical things out there, really, really awesome advices and awesome devices. And that automatic chicken door is really a game changer in so many different ways because number one, they're pretty darn reliable, pretty secure. I have yet to see a critter get past one. And you just got to make sure the batteries, I mean, you can put them on AC. They got them now to where you can run on AC, DC. It doesn't even matter. Even solar, I think, to a certain extent. But it can make this life, if that's your biggest concern, is like, dude, man, it gets dark at like 9. Let's say you're in the middle of Texas and it gets dark at 9:45 and you're looking to try to get to bed. That's where that tech can really, really, really help you out, especially when it comes to chicken flocks. Son, you should have one more.
Oh, yeah, I do. I misspoke earlier. Sorry about that. Buy feed for animals in bulk. Let's say you have a couple of animals or a couple of systems that are on store-bought animal feed. It just makes sense this is something that a lot of people overlook, but it just makes sense to buy the feed in bulk. Like, just, yeah, unless it's like a super cheap, like just basic 12% protein feed that you just use as a supplement because you're on feed scraps and stuff like that. Other than that, just buy it in bulk. There's a huge price break when you buy it by the ton versus the bag over at Tractor Supply.
Or to that point, look into something like the chicken tractor on steroids where you can absolutely positively use somebody else's food scraps to produce all your meat, all your eggs, and produce 1 to 3 cubic yards of compost per week. I'm about to run that system with some breasts, and we're or at least I hope to. I mean, I'm just going at so many different directions right now. I'm hoping I can do it. I'm not sure that I can, but that's really where I'd like to go with this thing, because I'm like, okay, if these chickens, every bit of evidence, I mean, Darren and Patty told me this thing, those birds are really good. A number of others have told me the very same thing. And I'm like, man, this could be depending on, I never decide how good a chicken is until how I see how well they do into that system. If they work in the chicken tractor on steroids, and got to think about it, folks, in that system, the ideal bird is a very different thing. It's not what they tell you is the perfect bird out there. You want a good sized bird that can move some material. That's what you want in a system like that. So if these birds are willing to forage and do that, man, so far the best ones that I've liked in that system are without a doubt those Red Rangers. I mean, good night, man. Those guys can get some. You want a bird that can absolutely forage and move material. I haven't seen anything that can move it around like that, those Red Rangers, but that's where I decide whether or not a bird is good for me. But to William's point, is there mom and pop places around there where you can get those food scraps, save yourself a pile of money, where you can take things that would ordinarily go in a dumpster. Like, when I go to Asheville, maybe once a week when I'm doing these things, there's an Asian store. Well, I'm a blessing to them because I save them dumpster visits. There's a bakery. I'm a blessing to them because you know what? That's less they got to pay on the dumpster. And every business is trying to scrape by any way they can, especially nowadays where, they can't keep up. And now customers are not as plentiful because they just don't have the disposable income to be able to do all that they need to do. So folks, it can apply that way at your house. So if you can be a blessing to somebody else and use their food scraps, take it home, feed it to your chickens or your pigs, well, you're going to be better off for it.
Yeah, I agree. Just be careful with your food scraps and stuff like that. Like if you're feeding it to a particular animal, make sure you're not feeding that same animal back to itself. Like if you're getting food scraps from a Mexican restaurant, try to make sure, and it's for your chickens, try to make sure you're not getting chicken back. Or if it's for your pigs, try to make sure you're not getting, pork back and stuff like that. If they eat the central nervous system of the same animal, then you get the same thing as like mad cow disease. Rarely does that happen, but it also just seems like wrong. Seems wrong to force your animals to be cannibals.
Yeah, that's the reasons. I mean, people have criticized me before about like I feed everything to chickens but chicken and everything to pigs but pigs. And I'm not saying that, a time or two it hasn't happened. I mean, if it did, I didn't know about it, but by and large, that's kind of, my policy for that sort of thing. It just feels ethically wrong. So it violates what it's beyond anything I'm willing to do. So just not going to do it. All right, son, tell everybody where they can find you. Links liking that shirt of yours, son.
Yeah. He and his son made it.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. You can find me at the Permaculture Consultant. You can find me on YouTube. That's where I do most of my stuff. And if you need a consultation, then shoot me an email at thepermacultureconsultant@gmail.com.
All right, y'all. Well, it's this inaugural visit with not visit, but we're trying to work out the tech to be able to do the show like we used to, folks. And like I said, we're going to have a couple of stumbles here and there, but as always, we're going to get it worked out. Well, I hope y'all like the new jams on the way out. And if you don't, it's got more of a Wilson Pickett kind of feel to it. Hopefully you guys dig it. I mean, if you don't, let us know because I have no intention of changing anything. All right. Hopefully you like it. Until next time, stay alert.
Stay alive.
Where my soul takes flight from a culture, I plant the seeds of love and light. Rolling on this funky beat from a culture, D-I-M-P, can't be beat. Join the rhythm, let's dance and dream. Live, keep cash, keep it clean. Yeah, with these road, I move with nature ways. Don't for swagger in this sacred space. From the earth to the sky, I smack I am. I do my thing. Join the rhythm, let's dance and breathe. Watch your beat that cool and sings. Feel soul with soul tonight. Tune in, get the vibe. Ready, right?